Greetings, viewers. How are you doing? Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. Yes, I'm being the Phil and he being the Ben. Look, he's a bit low down.
I am, aren't I? Do you want me to...
It's like a little Diddy Ben.
Diddy
There you
Ben.
are.
I like that. I typed
Yeah.
in Phil and Ben into ChatGPT the other day, and we're the first thing that comes up.
Are we really? Because when I typed Phil and Ben into Google, the first thing that comes up is an episode of EastEnders.
EastEnders, yeah.
Yeah, which is, for any of our overseas viewers don't know, is a British TV soap drama that's been on for years and years on the BBC. But
It's also the same in YouTube as well.
There are obviously some characters that were in that.
Phil Mitchell and his son Ben Mitchell.
Okay.
I don't know how I know that because I've not watched it. I've not watched it for a very, very long time.
No, but I'm
not a soap guy, as you could tell.
But he's a long-term character in that, so obviously he's going to be quite high above us, isn't he, for a while?
Yeah. But on ChatGPT,
we are number one, are we?
We're number one.
We're the top Phil and Ben in the world. Is that because ChatGPT knows that you are Ben, and it thinks, I'll flatter him by putting him?
Well, it doesn't know I'm Ben because I did it on the Try It and didn't log into my account.
Okay, that's interesting. If you've got time to waste, viewer, and you want to go on ChatGPT and see what happens when you type Phil and Ben in, see what happens and see if we are indeed number one, or if there's another Phil and Ben who are somehow more famous than us. Let us know.
I don't think there is there?
I wouldn't have thought so, but you just never know, do you?
You never know, do you? You never know.
No. So, it is time to go back to the albums of the 90s just one more time.
The last time.
Because we are doing this elimination. Now, sometimes with music, people ask you about your favourite music and you have to think about it a bit. And when you actually have to go through, what you love and what you don't love, or what you love more, you sometimes surprise yourself slightly, don't you? You can sometimes, you think you know what your favourite albums are, your favourite artists are, and then when you have this choice of, you've got to ditch one and keep the other.
You have a deep-seated emotional connection that you didn't realise you had.
So we found out last time that my favourite album of the 90s, or the one I kept at the end of the thing, was Being There by Wilco. So the double album by the Chicago band from 1996 it was released. Topped out over other bands that I thought might have been my favourite, R.E.M., U2, etc. So, interesting. So, is that my favourite album of the 90s? You know what? It might be. Maybe it is. I don't really know, but that's what your scientific study said. So
it is very scientific as well.
I can't argue with that. So let's go back now and do that whole process over again with Ben in the hot seat.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
And we're going to start. So I'm going to read you all of these 60 albums.
Oh, this might be a two-parter then.
And we'll see which one stays on top.
Let me get warmed up.
We're going to start in 1999. So you just mentioned Wilco. So we're going to have their 1999 album Summer Teeth. Okay.
Yes.
And you've got to choose between that and Peasants, Pigs, and Astronauts by Cooler Shaker.
Cooler Shaker. Mainly because it includes a song that says, "You're a wizard in a blizzard with a mystical machine gun," which is one of the greatest lines ever to be recorded in song.
Okay, so...
But I also know that album better. It's a great album by Cooler Shaker. Very underrated album as well, that album.
Okay, so the Cooler Shaker album, it's now going up against...
That is my favourite album of the 90s.
Okay, for now. So that is going up now against Tom Waits' Mule Variations.
I didn't really get on with that Tom Waits album. I think it's because when I put it on, I was expecting something. I've never really listened to him, you see. So when it came on, it was a little bit different to what my ears were expecting. A bit like when you go for, a beer and it ends up being like Guinness. And you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
He is a bit. Tom Waits is Guinness is probably quite a good analogy for Tom Waits because he's a bit of an acquired taste, I think.
Yes, yeah. So it's going to be Cooler Shaker. Who would have thought Cooler Shaker would have got this far?
Okay, so they are now going up against Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails.
It's got to be the Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails.
Okay.
Really great second album, full of hits, really good. I love that album. Bartender and the Thief, all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so that is now Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails, currently your favourite
album of the 90s.
Of the 90s. That's going up against Santana, Supernatural.
Do you know what? I found a new love for that Santana album when we re-listened to it. Well, when I re-listened to it. But the Stereophonics album was definitely played more at the time. It's been played more since. And I just think, I know a lot of people are a bit downbeat on the Stereophonics. Their first few albums, him. But yeah, it's the Stereophonics, Phil.
Okay. Well, you're being honest. If you played it the most, then you're not lying. You're not trying to be cool, are you?
I'm sitting, as you can well see.
So, Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails versus...
Ooh.
What should we put this up against? The Flaming Lips, the Soft Bulletin.
I do love that Flaming Lips album. It is like a cosmic blanket of joy.
But is it your favourite album of the 90s?
It's got Race for the Prize on it, and I love that song. That's a great song about the old scientists.
I've got to take the whole album as a whole.
I know.
I
think looking back on it, back in the 90s, and even probably today, it's another album because you introduced me to that album, and I obviously bought it on vinyl not long ago. But it's going to have to be the Stereophonics because I've got I think I've got a more longevity connection with that album.
That is a factor, isn't it, with these albums?
Yeah, and I think that's what it's going to be.
I mean, my surprise winner was one that I bought at the time it came out. So
I think you just have a better connection with. So I mean, I did buy Flaming Lips at when you introduced it to me. That would have been what 99.
It was late 99, maybe early 2000s.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's going to have to be the Stereophonics. I bought that album in Lytham St Anne's.
Okay, so the Stereophonics is up there at the moment, still performing well with its cocktails.
I want to know how you're ticking these off. How are you ticking these off? Are you just marking them on your phone?
I've got a whole list here with all of the albums we chose.
Yeah.
And I'm grouping them into each year. So we've just eliminated all the albums of 1999 apart from apart from that one. And I'm just going to randomly dip into another year now.
Oh, I like the way you're doing this, Philster. Yeah. I like this. So my favourite album, if anything we can say, my favourite album of 1999 so far is Stereophonics and Cocktails. Yeah.
So how does that match up against Paul Simon and the Rhythm of the Saints?
I gave it a brief listen for the purpose of this show.
And you thought, yes, I could say it might be okay, but I'm not really into it yet, so I can't really say much about it. Is that basically where you are?
It's Stereophonics, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
that's 1999 done.
Yeah. Well, that was 1990, actually, the Paul Simon album.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Right, we've moved on. Oh, yes, we have, haven't we? So 1990, right, Hit Me Baby One More Time.
So how does the album from Stereophonics compare with Sonic Youth's Goo?
Again, I think another good album. Can't fault the album, but I do. If you were to ask me which one would you put on in the car and listen to on a journey, I just think the Stereophonics album is, because some of these albums, obviously that was your choice, the Sonic Youth one, I've discovered later on. So and this isn't the best album, is it? This is our favourite. So it is the
favourite.
Stereophonics. Who would have thought they would have gone this far in?
They're winning out, yes, but you've got to go with your heart over everything
Almost
else.
half a cup of Ribena.
Okay, well,
survived.
Keep going with your heart. Now, how does Stereophonics fare against MC Hammer? Please don't hurt.
No. Oh, wait there, hold on.
Go with your heart, Ben. Go with your heart.
Oh, God, Phil. What are you doing to me? Oh, God. I mean, I've said it before. The MC Hammer one I did kind of pull in there, so you would have to listen to MC Hammer, which I think you did a little bit, didn't you? You listened to it?
I did a little bit of it, but I'd be lying if I told you I sat with my headphones on and listened to the whole of MC Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em. But
I think...
I do enjoy You Can't Touch This when you're in the mood for a bit of a party. You know, it's a fun one, isn't it?
I mean, at the time, MC Hammer, around that time, was massive. And as a kid...
Like his trousers.
Yes, yeah. And around that time, I did enjoy the parachute pants and all that sort of stuff. I could do the MC Hammer dance. You know, I know some of the lyrics. You know, my music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh, my Lord, thank you for blessing me with a mind too rapping too happy. It feels good when you know you're down. The super home run boy from the Oak Town.
Stop.
Carry on. It's the Stereophonics.
Okay, so it's not Hammer time anymore.
No.
The Stereophonics are winning out. So how do they do against Neil Young and Crazy Horse with Ragged Glory?
Oh,
another of my choices from 1990.
Another of your choices. Another great choice. 1990 was a better year than we give it credit for, I think. But it's going to be the Stereophonics again. I know people are going to want an in-depth, you know, those super music geeks are going to be like, oh, yeah. But
bear in mind, music geeks, Ben is not saying that the Stereophonics are better than Neil Young. He's just saying he has more of an emotional attachment to this album in the 90s.
I do, yes. Yeah.
Right, so how are Stereophonics doing against A Tribe Called Quest, Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm? Or to give the full title, People's Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm. Reading that title out should have given Ben enough time to make the decision. Unless you want to travel the path of rhythm for a bit longer.
Yeah. No, that's another album I came to late. And I do enjoy it. I do enjoy that sort of the De La Soul, all that sort of, hip hop from around that time.
It's one of my preferred types of hip hop, I must say.
Yeah.
I prefer that to, endlessly driving Lamborghinis and shooting people and hoes.
Yeah, I
and
don't
stuff.
think modern day hip. Well, we've spoken about it before.
Yeah,
a lot of the good hip hop is not in the mainstream anymore. It's so. But back then, because you had things like Ice-T, NWA, like I said, De La Soul, all that sort of stuff coming through. Tupac was just starting to cut, so. But it's. I'm going with my heart. It's Stereophonics still.
Okay. So, Stereophonics.
Yeah.
Let's chuck a woman into the mix, shall we?
Oh, no.
Betty Boo.
Oh, no. Oh, Phil. Oh.
Boo Mania, Betty Boo, who famously almost signed to Madonna's
Maverick. Yeah, she would have been the first artist on Maverick. But that went to Alanis Morissette instead.
Yeah, so Madge liked her. But how much do you love her?
I do love Betty Boo, not just, aesthetically. I think it's a great sort of pop, hip-hoppy sort of, that sort of crossover vibe to it, But another, I loved, Betty Boo at the time, like that Betty Boo is doing the do. But it's still the still the Stereophonics. Sorry, Betty, but
Stereophonics is still in there.
It's still in there, yeah.
Right. We are going now to put Stereophonics up against themselves, because word gets around.
It's Word Gets Around. Word Gets Around is a great debut album. Kelly Jones was at the pinnacle of his. He was writing about sort of small town problems in Wales and in South Wales, and I just think it's a really great album. Not Up to You, More Life in a Tramp's Vest.
So you think that's better than the second album?
Yeah, I think it is a really Local Boy in the Photograph. Um, I just think the songs on that album are more rawer than the second album. The second one, you can tell they're a bit more polished on production, and obviously had bigger budgets for videos and that sort of stuff. I think this is the pit. Yeah, it's a great debut album. So it is. Yeah, Stereophonics beating the Stereophonics.
So Word Gets Around by the Stereophonics is currently now
my favourite album of the 90s.
Of the 90s. So they're going to meet a big personality in the shape of Robbie Williams with Life Through a Lens, which is going to win out there.
I mean, a lot of people probably sniff that I've put that album in there, but I think that's as a debut album from a former boy band member, and as you can see here, a debut album by a former girl band member. I think it definitely had the vibes of the people who influenced him. He does try and do a Liam vocal on a couple of tracks. I think it's a pretty solid pop indie album again. But the Stereophonics one for me has more heart. So I'm going for the Stereophonics because
Word Gets Around.
Word Gets Around. It's got a lot of heart. It's just the songwriting, etc. The lyrics, okay. Kelly Jones's lyrics. It's beating Robbie, unfortunately.
Okay, so how about one of Scotland's long-serving indie bands, Primal Scream with Vanishing Point?
I enjoyed that album when I listened to it.
It's good, isn't it? I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good album. Really good album.
I like most of the Primal Scream stuff, to be honest. But yeah.
Okay. Friend of the show and former guest on the show, Chris Harper from the Big Sugars. He has shared a bill with Primal Scream.
I was about to say he's shared a bed with.
Well, he probably has. Times are tough. Only Lenny Henry can afford a travel lodge these days. So it is a very good album. I sometimes think that Primal Scream are quite undervalued, but it's still the Stereophonics.
Okay, so how are the Stereophonics going to do against the venerable Bob Dylan with Time Out of Mind?
It's still in my want list on Discogs, that is, on vinyl.
It's a double, I think, on vinyl.
It is. Yeah. So is the Mel C album behind me, but the fourth side has got it hasn't got any tracks on it. It's just an etched picture of her with her arm. Right.
So it's a 1.5 album.
Yeah. It's going to be the Stereophonics because, if I'm honest, I've only listened to. I remember listening to the Bob Dylan album at the time because you were mad about it when it came out. I remember that. But I just
and you listened to it and you got so depressed you thought, goodness, I can't possibly listen to this again.
Yeah, so I put on Billy Davies' Daughter from, So, it's the Stereophonics, Phil.
Okay, so how will that hang against some other old-timers, almost as old as Bob Dylan? The Rolling Stones, Bridges to Babylon.
Oh, I love that Bridges to Babylon album. Oh,
you probably love it more than me, and I'm as I'm a big Stones fan, and I do actually like this album, which often gets slagged off. But I think maybe
never make a saying of me. I put a gun to your face. Oh God, Phil said this is my first tough one.
One of these has got to leave the party. One of these has got to be shoved off the stage. Stereophonics, Word Gets Around. That's currently Ben's number one album of the 90s, the one he's keeping against all the other contenders, but he's come up against Bridges to Babylon by the Stones.
I love that.
Which
I've got it on
hit you?
CD, I've got it on 12-inch vinyl, I've even got the live double album from, is it Berlin or something?
Is it Bridges to Bremen? It's the
Bremen,
German,
yeah, that's
German.
it, yeah.
I've got the Blu-ray of the live.
Have you?
One, whichever one that is.
This
I can't remember
this
where it
is
was
like
filmed.
hairs. This is hairs, Brett. This is the other ones, even though they're tough. There's always a clear winner. I do love. Oh God, I know how you felt last week. Now,
One of the greatest, most influential bands of all time,
and the Rolling Stones.
Not, many Stones fans will say it's not their best album. Many Stones fans will allow you to to knock them out of a competition with Bridges to Babylon because they'll say it's not the best Stones album. That's what they will say. But having said that, when they find out you've booted them out in favour of Stereophonics, they might not be quite so happy.
No. So what you're saying here, I can't win either way.
You can't win.
But I'm gonna.
What's your favourite album of the 90s, Ben? Which do you love the most? That you've got
Stereophonics.
You've only got time to grab one before you run out of the flaming
Stereophonics. Stereophonics.
Okay. Word Gets Around. Bye.
Oh God! I feel like I've just drowned.
You've just basically just shat on the Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah,
that's all you've
sorry,
done.
Mick.
Don't worry, no music fans will be at all angry with you for that. Right. So the Stereophonics Word Gets Around.
Oh God, I know what year. Oh yeah. Oh, God.
Shall we put it? At some point, it's going to come up against it, so we might as well do it. Oasis, Be Here Now.
This is actually genuinely hard. I know people are going to say, "Oh yeah, he's so predictable. He's only going to choose Oasis."
It's what you love, Ben.
I know it's what I love, but I do love Be Here Now. But is the Stereophonics album? Was I more?
Spoiler alert, viewers, he wasn't more into anything than Oasis in the 90s.
I wasn't. Well, reggae in the early 90s. I don't know. This is a really tough one because I do love Be Here Now. It's a great album. People slag it off. Yeah, it's a little bit too long. It's a little bit bloated, but it mirrors what the times were like. There was a lot of excess. There was a lot of change. A lot of coming out.
You have to remember, you're not having to say what's your favourite band, and you're not. You're just having to say what's your favourite of these actual albums, the disc on its own, how it works as a whole disc on its own, a whole album, regardless of how you feel about the band. It's just the album. If that helps you, I don't know whether it does.
No. I am going to. It's my favourite album. So if it's my favourite album, if I was going to I would choose B Word Gets Here Around. Now,
Word Gets Around, but a Stereophonics. I can see the headlines now. Ben boots Oasis. Oasis. Oh wait, the headline will be Oasis split, and people will click on it, and they'll think, "Oh, Lowen and Liam have fallen out already," and then they'll find out it's actually Ben has split from Oasis. Even bigger shock.
I'm going to have a slurp of knowledge. Right, being that.
So that's what you're going with. Stereophonics is still winning out. Yeah, the debut album by Stereophonics.
No, Be Here Now. Be Here Now. Yeah, Be Here Now. Yeah. Going.
Be Here Now is your favourite album of the 90s so far. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've killed off Stereophonics. De La Soul are also dead. De La Soul is dead. How does that go against the Oasis album?
I do love that album. That's the follow-up to 3 Feet High and Rising. It's Be Here Now.
Okay.
I could not wait for Be Here Now to come out, and I often say to people, don't get overwhelmed by the hype. I was overwhelmed by the hype, so I'm having it.
Okay. Saint Etienne, Fox Space Alpha.
Another great album, quite lo-fi. I do like Saint Etienne, but it is Be Here Now.
Okay. So, Oasis Be Here Now or REM Automatic for the People?
One of probably Phil's second favourite album of the 90s, this one.
It's certainly top 5, top 3 maybe. It's certainly up there, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's certainly up there for me.
I've only probably heard this album once in its entirety, more familiar with the singles. So for me, it's got to Be Here Now.
Okay, so Be Here Now or Prince and the New Power Generation, otherwise known as the Symbol album.
Oh, yes, yeah. As you well know, I've been listening to Prince this week.
You have, at the gym.
I have. I was at the gym listening to a bit of Prince. He's the guitar solo for George Harrison's inducting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I love that. I love the fact he looks naughty while he's doing it as well.
Possibly now the most watched Prince video of all time.
Oh, is it?
It's up there now. It's got lots and lots and lots of views now.
And doesn't Tom Petty sound just like George Harrison?
Does he? On that, I hadn't know. I have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, but it's Be Here Now, Phil. Let's not beat around the bush.
So let's have another woman. Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes.
It's Be Here Now, but well done, Tori. I only discovered this album while we were doing this. A beautiful album, not underrated because critics, but I think people should go out there and buy it.
So, how does it go against the Stereophonics album? Sorry, the Oasis album is still winning out. Be Here Now. How does that fare against spiritualized, laser-guided melodies?
Rugby's finest. How can I be the one to push out our local celebrity? Jason Pierce, isn't it? Is it Pierce?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be spiritualized, Phil.
Laser guided melodies.
No, it's not. It's Be Here Now. Come on.
Okay.
I do love that album because I love all that sort of stuff. And didn't it win the Mercury Music Prize, that album?
I don't know about that. I'm not sure that. I have a feeling that I'm not sure when the Mercury Prize started. It was around 92 or 93.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Great album, really good album. That album.
It's the sort of album that could have been nominated for the Mercury Prize. Okay, so you've crossed out spiritualized.
Yeah.
Can you guess what pun I just made to introduce the next album?
Oh, I know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Am I going to jump at its arrival into the...
So, Oasis or Criss Cross? Totally crossed out.
Phil's favourite band of all time, Criss Cross. Even got tickets to go see them live with Michael Jackson supporting them.
Yeah, I just watched them and left, didn't bother with Michael Jackson. Yeah.
I mean, what's he ever going to do? Love that album. Love Criss. At the time, Criss Cross was just the backwards closed. May going for a wee a bit difficult, I'd have thought, but it's Be Here Now still. But Criss Cross, well done, Criss Cross, for getting in there because they're part of my youth. So you've got to sort of, Criss Cross will make it jump. Will they ever come up again in one of our shows, Phil? Because you've done one-hit wonders of the 90s. Now we're doing this.
Well, I must admit, when you said to me over 2 years ago now, I'd like to do a podcast or YouTube show and talk about music.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we'll do that. And I wouldn't have thought, and you told me that we'd do it for 2 years, and in that time we would have several conversations where Criss Cross were mentioned. I'm not sure whether I would have agreed to start doing this.
Well, I mean, let's face it, Bill. So we spent about 5 minutes last week talking about hot Ribena. I mean, anything goes on here.
Okay, so Chris Cross have been crossed out totally.
They've been totally crossed out. Yeah, sorry, okay. Chris and Cross.
So let's see whether Oasis how they can survive against another R&B act. Really, The Far Side, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side.
I love this album. Great album. Love The Far Side. But my first Far Side single, I think I bought in '96. Do you like The Far Side? Again, another good, when hip hop meant something. It doesn't mean as much to me. And I've listened to it more as an older man than I did then. I don't, so it's Be Here Now. It is Be Here Now.
Be Here Now. Yeah. So, wow, viewer. We've been talking about this for 30 minutes, so we're going to have to end this episode and come back for part 2 of Ben's favourite album of the 1990s. Yeah. I'll stick the link so you can go straight to it. Join us then.